Chapter 6, The Gaffing of Clinch Tiddnay, Part 2. Night-blooming pond lilies opened, breathing of pineapple and honey. For Levisi, the odor was heavenly. For Clinch, it must have been another reminder of supper. He began to gather his feet for rising. For a second time, Levisi laughed softly. "What's funny now?" "I'm thinking about the time we were children and the game was post office. You were told to give me a letter with 2 stamps on it. Instead, you little shuck. I promised Ma I'd be home early. Did you go straight home?" "No, I went frogging. Guess I was just scared of girls." A curve of silver rose in the gap between the Peckerwood Mountain and Trapper Bald. From the woodland in the back of Levisi and Clinch crept the night scent of sweet rocket and the jasmine and vanilla of wild tobacco. "But I ain't scared now," asserted Clinch, maybe surprising himself. By the thickness of a leaf, and of another leaf, the shoulders of the man and woman neared each other. Snails and tendrils move slowly too, but they get there. The arm of the skedaddlinest man in the hollow stole charily, then with a sudden iron grapple about her waist. He's going to speak, thought Levisi, breathless. Glory be, the drought's ended. "Levisi?" "Yes, Clinch." "Levisi, I..." Bonk! Clinch sat straight up. "Never mind, it's only a froggy, Clinch." "Froggy nothing, it's a frog." Clinch was on his feet. The bonker kerplunked. Levisi grasped for Clinch, good and riled. "Bonk!" And from across the pond a retorting bonk. 2 of them! Clinch started up the slope, legs moving like scissors. "Clinch Tiddnay, where are you going?" "I'm going to make me a jacklight and cut me a frog stick." She stood in the wash of moonlight, mad all over. It would serve him right, she told herself, if she bolted for home and left him to his frogs, which she understood were cold-hearted creatures and clammy. But better sense took hold. She had no idea how to find her way out of this tangle of bog and the blackness of the woods beyond. She had lively fear of what might lurk and prowl, and she'd made up her mind to gaff and capture Bachelor Clinch, or forever draw her banners down. She stood fast, not daring to move lest she step off into ooze. She thought of snapping turtles and knew keen alarm. To her relief, Clinch appeared in the distance with a blazing pitch knot. Bonk! It exploded almost under her heels. Clinch came running. "Did you hear? He must be the grandpa. Levisi, you do bring a feller luck." No man had ever told her that before. He handed her the torch. "You go in front. When you see Popeyes, stop." "Clinch, don't stab one while I'm looking. I'll scream." "I'll just fork 'em alive for now. These here are frogs." The huntress in her came to the fore. After all, it was a heritage of these mountains. She bore the jacklight. Bonk came from this side of a finger of water. From that, "Levisi, there's a pair of eyes. Hold steady while I kindly slide around behind him." Levisi held the brand firmly. "Got him! A 6-incher. Tote him in your skirt, will you, Levisi?" Another pair of eyes, and another, peered from the pickerel grass. Clinch circled and pinned both bonkers behind the ears. Into Levisi's skirt they went. She'd made a bag of it with one hand while holding the light with the other. The biggest splash of all, with a flip and a curved chunk, sounded from the shore. Bonk! The note was plain derision. "That was Grandpa. Did you see his legs?" Clinch was all disgust for himself and an admiration for the boomer. "We've got to nail him for pure." The chase continued and the moon climbed. It climbed to the top of its sky and teetered there. Levisi was mud to her knees. 4 healthy croakers were in her skirt, and the grandpa of all was bounding back and forth in the water, halting now and then to blare. The moon began to drop. With a lunge, Clinch forked Grandpa. "Bust my tugs, he's a 9-incher, Levisi, with legs a foot long." "Clinch, are we done now?" "Sure are. Camp's nigh. You and me, Levisi, are going to have a feast." They started for hard ground. It called for a jump, That was when Levice froze to an ice block, too shocked to move, too paralyzed to even yell. "Step careful and don't let that skirt sag," directed Clinch. He took her arm and grasped the torch. The most horrible thing was happening to her. Grandpa had leaped for and entered the loose throat of her dress. And she couldn't tell Clinch. She stuffed back the very thought. Some private things a person has to keep to her own bosom. And both her hands, lest she lose the other frogs and Clinch be angry, had to clutch the hems of her skirt. "Levice, are you cold on such a night?" She wasn't cold. It must be something walking over her grave, she managed to tell him, that made her shudder like that. Heavens to Betsy, what if Grandpa lashed out with a kick? She'd not be able to stand it. She'd screech, drop those hems, and tear off everything. And Clinch, who'd once laughed and laughed when he popped a mud puppy down her neck, would roll again for laughter on the first solid ground they came to, would gasp, "Same old Levice," and get up and bat against trees, rushing to tell everyone in the hollow. Grandpa, after a rest, started crawling again. Her skin and muscles tightened until she thought they would twang. If Clinch would only let go her arm so she could grab. But Clinch wouldn't let go. He jumped her over the wet places and walked her up the slope to some birches, where she had to stand with 4 frogs in her skirt and one that had slid down to just above her quivering hip. He whittled shavings and blew up a fire. He kept her there to shield the blaze. He reached to a stump and drew forth a can and a banged-up frying pan. And he reached for a look into her folded skirt. He sagged back on his heels. "Where in thunder's Grandpa?" She couldn't answer. She'd die first. "Gone," pronounced Clinch. "If only." "How did he get away? It was you who wouldn't let me stop him." She stood stock still. "Well," said Clinch, "we've still got 4, but I sure did crave to fry Grandpa." She craved to fry Grandpa, too. He went aside to deal with the 4, and that was Levice's chance. She dove for Grandpa, who felt her coming and lurched from shelf of her hip to the small of her back. There isn't an arm in the human race, unless given hours, that can reach down its dress nape to the small of its back. Clinch returned with 8 peeled and washed frog's legs. "We'll eat the first pair boiled. They'd go wonderful with onion and tomato, but I ain't got them. All I got's salt." They each ate 1 leg boiled. Levice, hungry, almost enjoyed it. "We'll eat the next pair grilled." They ate them grilled. They ate the 3rd pair baked in a leaf, though Levice was slowing down. They ate the 4th boiled again, or Clinch did. Levice dropped hers into the bushes. Clinch sighed. "What a snack! There ain't anything in the world like frog. Never in my life did I get enough frog. It wouldn't be possible to get enough frog, I guess." Levice could have told him it was possible to get enough frog. He lit his pipe. He sat there by the fire, arms about his knees. Levice sat alongside. Grandpa found the hollow of her back comfortable. He didn't stir. If he just stays that way, thought Levice, if only he doesn't bonk. Clinch puffed gravely. He was thinking hard about something. "You know, Levice." He'd got that far once before. The pipe glowed a while and went out. He relit it. "Levice." All right, so her name was Levice. "Yes, Clinch?" But the bachelorhood dies hard. Clinch even breathed hard. "If I could only be sure," he groaned. "Of what, Clinch?" To herself. "That I'd make you a good wife? But I would, Clinch. I'd fend for you, sew for you, cook for you, dose you in sickness and battle you in health." But of course she couldn't flat out say it. "If I could only be sure I and you caught into the same things." He shook his head, stumped by life's hazards. "Oh, don't worry about that," she wanted to cry aloud. Grandpa being so close to her that she was practically beside herself and him in between, maybe sensed her tumult. Anyway, he grew restless. He started to finish the tickly circuit from her being. "Well, it's getting late," said Clinch. Moon sunk. Reckon I better see you home, Levice, afore folks spy us and coming out of the woods at morning. He put his pipe away. Oh, I don't care that they spy, thought Levice, woe-stricken. Why can't I ever gaff this man the way my sisters managed theirs? At that moment, Grandpa got his head into a tuck of cloth and kicked. At that drive of 12-inch leg into pimpled rib, Levice jackknifed. She straightened and spun around to cope. Her back was to Clinch. That was for modesty. And here came Grandpa. What's that? Clinch was pop-eyed himself. Your breakfast, Clinch. I've been saving him. You been keeping him in there? Levice blushed and nodded. Then you do like frogs. They traipsed through the woods gaily, laughing to each other, shouting nonsense, making 100 plans, some of which included what to do with Grandpa. They settled on a sauté with butter, onion, and tomato, sweet pepper, lemon, bay leaf, and thyme, all to be had at Levice's house. We'll soon have him simpering in the pan, gloated Levice. They broke out into the meadow country under rosying sky. Levice, is that the morning star? Yes, it is, Clinch. I'd like to know more about stars. That one's real nice and shiny. And the sun, why, it lights up your head to a regular goldy corn pone yeller. Hold Grandpa tight, Clinch, retorted Levice, and keep your mind on him. He's going to be a goldy yeller or two in about 10 minutes. You can keep the quilt, Levice, the girls said in admiration.